Hello all and welcome, and I am the MGTOW philosopher. In this video I would like to discuss women in combat. Now we hear all the time that women are equal to men and that they are capable of doing anything that men can do. And we all remember that crappy movie with Demi Moore called G.I. Jane back in the 90s, where a very, for her, buff Demi Moore portrayed a woman who was training to be a Navy SEAL, which we all know would be entirely impossible. There's a reason why they tried to get women into the Rangers, and the women couldn't even do that without cheating and having the benchmarks lowered. It's because the SEALs is by far even harder than Ranger School. Very, very, very much harder. So there's no way on God's green earth that a woman could ever get into that school and pass it without loads and loads of help, which would defeat the whole purpose of having a test to begin with if you cheat. So let's discuss the reality of women in combat. Women are smaller, women are lighter. We can pick them up, slam them on the ground like a giant rag doll, beat the crap out of them, snap their bones easy because their bones ain't as strong as ours, not to mention they're not as strong as us. So why should we let women into combat? What do they bring to the picture? Now, we know that a man, if trained properly and has the right conditioning and the right mindset, can be very dangerous. A man brings many tools to the table. But what is the benefit of adding a female to the team? Diversity? Is that it? Women bring a lot of drama with them that we would not want. They also sleep with men, which would destroy the cohesion of a unit. What with many, many, many good-looking men and a woman, young woman, let's get real. Let's look at reality here. She would fucking bang every one of the good-looking guys, and the ugly ones she would ignore. And then, before you know it, the whole platoon, whatever, they would be fighting amongst themselves because all the drama caused by this one chick. Okay? Let's just look at that aspect first of all. Women create division among men. Men fight amongst themselves to gain the woman's attention. She encourages this and sometimes even rewards it with a fuck. And then before you know it, the men are at each other's throats. So that would be a bad thing. That's problem number one. Number two, women are poor fighters. They don't have the physical strength. They have half the upper body strength and almost half as little lower body strength. So why would we want them there? They take the place of a man. Next reason. Yeah, if there's a woman there, that means she's in a spot that a man could fill, a man that is twice as strong as her and could do twice as much. Why on earth would you want an inferior soldier? Oh, but women are equal. No, they're not equal. They're weak. They're whiny. Oh, that gun is too loud. Don't shoot it so loud. What? You dumb bitch, that's how loud the gun is. You don't like it? Go bake some bread. Go make me a sandwich. I fail to see the benefit of having women in the military. Number four, women are natural nurturers. They like kids. They like kids a lot. They can know a combat zone. What if the enemy is using kids as human shields? Or even worse, what if the enemy is using kids as delivery devices for bombs that would blow up 10 people, but the woman can't kill the one kid because it's a kid? Women have a real problem shooting kids. I do not. I see a person. I don't see a kid. If I see some person running forward with a bomb strapped to their chest that's going to blow up my buddies, I shoot him in the fucking head. Next. It's a brotherhood. These men have close ties to each other. They have very little drama. If there is some kind of problem within the unit, they duke it out. They get in each other's faces. They get loud. They get boisterous. Sometimes they get into fights to solve their problems. That's what men do, and they end up being closer in the end. But if you have women in that unit, what happens? If she's a cunt, if she's a bitch, you can't beat the crap out of her and put her in her place, as is the way things are. That's how God intended them to be. But unfortunately, since that's a woman, oh, well, I can't beat the shit out of her and bust her nose and teach her a fucking lesson, as I should be able to do, because this dumb bitch wants to be a man. She wants to act like a man. She's put herself in a man's job. She says, I'm a tough warrior. Treat me the same. But you can't treat her the same. And if you do, you will get busted for sexual harassment. So that's a real problem. Next problem. Women, throughout the entirety of our military history, have not fought. They make shitty soldiers, and all the men who have died and sacrificed themselves for our country essentially are being insulted when you let these pathetic little wimpy creatures into the military. I don't care, even if this bitch that you let in can somehow, without cheating, pass all the tests. But that's just it. They can't. Every single, even to get into the armed forces, all the physical standards have been lowered. Man has to do 45 push-ups. A woman has to do 12. Man has to do 10 pull-ups. A woman has to do like 2 or 3 or something like that, or 1. It's absurd. They have to run men have to run 2 miles in 19 minutes. Women in 16 minutes. Women have 19 minutes to do it. They can't cut the mustard. So they can't even get into the military to meet the same standards men have. They can't even get in. They cannot, will not. It's impossible for them to meet the standards of the men. Now, if by some freak of nature, some woman that was like a burly bitch, like Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones, gets in there and she can pump out the push-ups and do all the pull-ups and run as fast as the men, and she can haul the same load, I say, hey, more power to her. Put that bitch in the front lines and give her a gun. No problem. I don't have a problem with women in the military per se. Well, yeah, okay, I do somewhat, because it would break up the brotherhood, the camaraderie, and create possible drama, unless she was a butch bitch and hated men. That's another subject entirely. But unless that's the case, she's going to create drama. But my biggest problem is that she can't cut the fucking mustard. She can't do it. She can't even get into the military. All this yammer about, 3 women passed the Ranger School because they cheated and were given 3 months of training beforehand on the very course that they were going to compete and do the tests on, which the men weren't exposed to, because part of the test is the unexpected that could happen in combat, not knowing the terrain, not knowing what kind of obstacle you're going to run up against next. And the women were completely trained, totally trained, and they got to do each and every part of the course again and again and again until they passed. The men only get 2 chances. And the men got no special training beforehand and had no familiarity with the course. And even then, out of 50 women, 2 or 3 managed to do it with cheating. They couldn't, the 50 women that were picked, the best in the military, trained for 3 months, only 3 of them could do it. The rest couldn't even do it, even though all of them were cheating. This should tell people something. You're trying to shoehorn a square peg into a round hole, okay? It doesn't work. There's a reason you're having to go through all these extraordinary efforts just to get 3 of these women through. It's because they're not meant to be there, you dumb cunts, you. So yeah, I have a lot of problems with women in the military. They're a distraction. Now men, this is another problem I have. Men tend to want to be protectors. Men want to protect women. That's kind of what we were made for. That is what we evolved to do. When we see women in trouble, we get irrational. We want to try to help them, even if it means popping our head up and getting a bullet in our cranium. So men get overly concerned with women. And this effectively affects their objectivity and their ability to be logical and reasonable and rational in a situation where emotions will get you killed. Period. Another reason, women have health and hygiene issues. Women have special needs when it comes to staying clean, staying hygienic, that men just don't have. Certain orifices of their body that are open to the elements and at certain times of the month have real issues, could cause big problems, especially if you were deployed in combat and are out in the elements for a long, extended period of time. Women don't do very well once they get icky and dirty. Not well at all. Next issue. Women have babies. Yes, that's right. If the woman in your team gets pregnant and she is, say, the sergeant or the lieutenant, or she is whoever is in charge of the team, what happens to the team cohesiveness? Anything gained in training as far as cohesiveness is lost. Then you have to find a new token female or an actual man who can do the job properly. And then you have to re-establish trust and cohesiveness all over again. Yes, we could ignore the fact that women are the baby ovens of mankind and that they have the kids, but doing that would be detrimental to our military. But then again, just letting women into the military is detrimental to the military. Next issue, physical toughness. We talked about strength. We have talked about lower upper body strength. Her heart is much smaller than a man's. Then there is toughness. Her bones are smaller. They are weaker. They are less dense. Women who train in the military routinely at half get injuries. Many of them very serious injuries. They get stress fractures much easier than men, doing repetitive exercises again and again and again until you have minute fractures in the bones. Women are far more likely to have this happen than men. Injuries, period. Women are not as tough as men. They don't heal as quickly. They get injured easier. And so having something like that, someone like that in the army is a detriment. They're weak. They get injured easily. They don't heal well. Why would you want someone like that in the military? I don't understand it. You have better options to choose from. There's plenty of men that want to join the military. Why would you put a woman into a position where she can't do as good a job? And if there's a war, she's going to get fucked up a lot easier. And she's going to hold everybody back. And then she's somebody that everybody else has to carry. Remember, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Next reason, our enemy's perception of us. Currently, our enemies in the field are scared shitless of American soldiers. They know that we're tough, badass motherfuckers and we have really big guns and we will blow their heads off. However, if they see little tiny women showing up in the field, running around with the men, with the guns on the front line, also fighting them, they will think we are a fucking joke. We already are a fucking joke, but they don't know it yet. Doing this will affirm in their minds that we are a fucking joke. It's like the fool who doesn't open his mouth, so nobody knows he's a fool. But once he opens his mouth, everybody knows he's a fucking fool. Putting women on the front lines would totally demoralize both our men as well as degrade our reputation in the eyes of our enemy. You want your enemy to think you're tough and badass. As much of combat is mental as it is physical, and we want our enemies to fear us. They do not fear little 110-pound women running around with half the weight of a man on their back, that their man carries on their back, holding a gun that's bigger than they are. This does not strike fear into the heart of the enemy, and he will laugh at you. Next reason, fighting ability. While many people like to believe that combat has become so advanced that it's a technological war now, and it's all done in a bunker somewhere with somebody sitting behind a screen, holding a joystick and flying a drone around and then pushing a button and dropping a bomb and then flying the drone back to base. However, the world does not work that way. You still have plenty of war zones where you will need feet on the ground. You will need combat soldiers. And you will need infantry going forward with guns, taking bullets, having bullets whiz past their head. You will have hand-to-hand combat. You will be breaking into houses, into buildings where there's many corners, many places that people can hide. A big, brawny, strapped, tough American Ranger or Navy SEAL, whatever, big, tough guys, some lunatic, extremist, comes out from around a corner, attacks you. You toss him to the ground, kick his ass. Woman, the extremist will grab her, toss her to the ground, and kick her ass. And continue to stomp on her throat, kill her, and then grab her gun and start killing everyone. Women do not do well in close quarter situations. Even the best trained, strongest woman is no match for a well-trained, strong man or even an average strength man who knows something about how to take care of himself. He will beat the crap out of her, take her gun, and make mincemeat of the rest of her company. So women are not, in any way, shape, or form, a help. They are a hindrance. Next issue, hand-eye coordination and the ability to aim well. Women do very poorly when it comes to shooting. They do extremely poorly, much, much worse than even the worst man. They can't hit the target. They don't hit the bullseye. They have very, very poor hand-eye coordination, and the skill and ability to aim a gun and shoot it. They just don't do well at that. When it comes to estimating, engaging, windage, and the type of thing is, for example, arrows drop. As the further the distance, the more the arrow drops. These kind of estimation abilities require logic, reasoning, critical thinking skills that women just don't have, not to mention the fact that their hand-eye coordination is shit and they can't aim for shit. So they're not good with guns, basically. And that seems like kind of a prerequisite for a soldier. So being good with guns, no, they are not. So yet another strike against women in the military. Next reason, women are emotional and subjective beings. They do very poorly when it comes to abstract things like tactics, for example. It would be like trying to train a 10-year-old in how to think logically and reasonably and to look at a map of a battlefield and come up with a good battle plan, or while you were in battle to come up with good tactics to defeat your enemy at a moment's notice. Women are not good at these kind of things. They are not good at them at all. They freak out. They're very emotional, much more emotional than men. And the last thing that you want in combat is someone that's very emotional, making split-second decisions that are life and death. Very, very bad situation. You don't want someone who has an emotional issue in combat, and that is what women are. All women have emotional issues. They are emotional creatures. You do not want them having bullets flying past their head and making decisions that decide the lives of other men and women that should not be there in the first place. Next reason, women don't like killing things. If you've ever been married to live with a woman and had her come to you to kill a mouse, to kill a spider, to kill something, you will know that women don't like killing shit. Men like killing shit. How many women do you see out hunting and killing shit? Not many. Of course, there's exceptions to every rule, but those women are generally very butch, or they were raised tomboys, or they've got some kind of issue where they were born, there was some kind of extra shot of testosterone, and they develop more masculine traits than other women. The truth of the matter is that women, by and large, don't like killing shit. Men don't have a problem with it. When it comes to killing other human beings, even men have a problem with it to a certain extent. And if they kill enough of them in combat, they get PTSD and they have emotional problems and mental problems when they come back from a war zone. However, women are absolutely positively unsuited to killing anything. And they have much more emotionality to them. So if you put them out there killing men, they are going to lose it. They are going to have big-time PTSD. You're going to have huge, huge psychiatric bills. These women will be totally and utterly crippled when it comes into having to go into combat again after having to kill men the first time. Women are not good at fighting. If they actually do manage to kill someone, whether it be in close quarters combat or with a gun, they are going to have real, real issues with it. Women are completely and totally unsuited to killing stuff. Bottom line. Women make shitty soldiers. They make shitty soldiers. Really shitty soldiers, in fact. We are all suffering from this mass delusionment where we've all been taught by the left, by the leftist, Marxist, communist media that women are equal to men and they can do anything men can do. And it has gotten to the point, this mental illness that is liberalism, that everyone has come to believe this, including the women. They've drunk the Kool-Aid and they are believing their own press, to the point where they think they can go into combat and do exactly what men can do because they have not been exposed to reality. They are living in a fantasy land. Women cannot do what men can do. If they try to do what men can do, they will get killed. And we will all feel really, really stupid for letting them into combat. Period. I am the MGTOW philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.